Afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is a very intimate talk, which I'm actually very much going to enjoy because I think we can definitely be very attentive to the artists we have here on the panel. I would just like to introduce everybody on the stage here with me, starting with Taya. Welcome, Taya. Taya De La Cruz. We have Ramone Anderson. We have Kwesi Awotwei.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Wonderful. And we have Louise Hapton. Thank you for being here, Louise. We have Toni Olapade. Yes. And we have Saint. Thank you for being here, Saint. And just to start off, I want to break the ice a little bit. I'd like for you all to introduce yourselves to the audience that we have here and start with one interesting fact that's not art related, if that's possible, please. I feel like I already know what yours is going to be.
Do you?
Yes, maybe. Because you said something very interesting just then.
Yes. Should I make that my fact?
Yes, I think so. It's very exciting. Very exciting. Yes.
Okay. Oh, yes, hello. I'm Taya De La Cruz. Fun fact about me that's not art related, I'm getting married in 15 days! So I'm very, very pleased to be here, thank you.
Yes. And Ramone? I always find it so funny when I ask the artists what's the one non-art related interesting fact, and they struggle because I find them so interesting that there's so many things you could say.
Yeah, like what qualifies as interesting? Like, you know what I mean?
Doesn't matter. Something you may think is interesting.
I don't know. I guess I've partaken in 3 different religions. I've been a Muslim and all other things, and now I'm a Christian, and we chilling, man.
Yeah,
going through life, journeys and cycles.
Love that for you. And Kwesi?
I'd say I make films as well, besides art. That's
cool. That is very cool. And you say?
My fun fact is I'm Dutch. Yeah.
I'd say I'm Tommy, and my fun fact is I used to want to be a dancer.
Really? What deviated you from that?
Skills.
Hi, my name is Louise, and my fun fact, if you could call it fun fact, is that I just have been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which is a form of psychosis, and I'm also autistic and very ADHD, so if I'm chaotic during this talk, I'm very sorry. It's like medical.
You don't have to apologise for the chaos. That's art, isn't it? It can be quite chaotic. So thank you for sharing that with us, Louise. And thank you for all of you to be able to let us know some uninteresting but interesting facts, Ramone, about yourselves. If you want to.
I had a daughter 7 weeks ago.
Oh, see what I mean? Congratulations to both of you, to everybody, for all of the things that are exciting about your lives right now. I very much congratulate you. And moving forward, the first question we have is for everyone. What inspired you to pursue art, and how has your creative journey evolved to bring you to the Fleet Art Fair today? Starting with you.
Damn, I wanted to think about my answer. Well, I suppose I worked as an actress for 10 years, and when I graduated drama school, it was sort of before being an actor of colour was actually, you know, a really accessible and wonderful thing. It was, I only ever used to go up for the roles of, you know, policewoman number 2 or somebody's best friend, or stories that didn't really resonate with me. They weren't full, true characters. So during lockdown, I made the decision to just part ways with my agent. I'd been dabbling with art on the side, and it just skyrocketed from there. It's almost like in the 4 years that I've been an artist, I've had more success than I ever did in the 10 years that I was an actress. So while it was really painful to let go of this whole thing that had been my life and my baby and just my whole everything, I found something even better. And I got I think I met Isaiah in the other art fair, would you say? I think, yes, he's nodding. And yeah, he had a great energy. I love his eye for curation. I love how he thinks, and I love that he is thinking about the future. His mind is 20 steps ahead of where he is physically, and I love working with people like that who you just never know what they've got up their sleeve. So when he asked me to be a part of this, I was just over the moon, thrilled. Yeah.
Amazing, thank you so much.
We're giggling now.
I just appreciate your answer.
Oh, thanks.
Lovely. Ramone?
For me, how I became an artist, this is gonna sound mad arrogant, but like when I was in school, I was just better than everybody.
That'll do it.
But on a real one, it's just like you begin to realize that when you're producing or creating things, it's like, why do I have this specific eye for detail, and I'm able to create in a way that my peers are not able to? And then you start looking at, well, I get an immense amount of joy from this. Why would I end up doing anything else? And the one thing I'm good at and I get a lot of joy from. So for me, I just kind of like, in that moment, I kind of felt like I kind of clocked life, where there's a lot of people, when I was looking at them and, you know, your parents, your relatives, people in your community, they speak about work in such a negative way. So I have to go to my job, and I'm like, if I could get paid to do this, like life is just gone clear for me. So for me, I just kind of just doubled down on my skill set and just allowed whatever creativity I've had to thrive. And that's not something that happens alone, but my mum has always been incredibly supportive. You know, there's times when we didn't have much to eat in the house, and I would sit up drawing pictures, and my mum would help me color them. I'd sell them at school, and I'd make money to buy video games and stuff. So there's always just been that cultivation from my community. I make music as well, and my guy here, Jess, has been a very big conduit of nurturing that talent as well as a rapper and a writer. So yeah, man, it's just been a thing of recognizing your talent and surrounding yourself with people that can help cultivate that. And I believe Isaiah in the back of the camera is another person that is part of the journey. You know, everyone has asked me if I have Instagram, and the answer is no. And I'm very not secluded about my practice, but I just think I'd rather just come out the gate raw, where you know, I've dotted my T's or dotted my I's and crossed my T's, and I don't really partake in these things too much. But he asked me to be a part of it, and how could I not say no? He's very vision orientated, and he showed me some of his stuff because we were on the course together at RCA, and just very inspired by his work ethic, his commitment to trying to do things at the forefront, and I'm excited to be here. So shout out to my guy in the back.
Shout out to Isaiah. And thank you so much for that answer, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
On to you, Kwesi.
So what made me become an artist was I was obsessed with cartoons when I was a kid. So I used to watch a lot of like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Fox Kids. So I used to like copy the characters and stuff. So initially I actually wanted to be an animator. So that's kind of what got me into art. So I studied art when I was at secondary school, and then I tried to do like an MA in animation, but I didn't get on my course. So the tutor invited me to go to art school to learn to improve my drawing skills. So I trained in fine art for 6 years, and I was gonna apply for an MA, but I got so like used to doing fine art. I was like, I kind of like this realm. I kind of want to stay. So that's what kind of led me on a path of being an artist. Because with like animation, it's very commercial. You tend to like work on projects or like for companies. But I just loved how, you know, fine art is so personal and intimate. You know, you can kind of just tell your own story, you know, with a canvas or with clay or printmaking. So I kind of got pissed at that, you know, being able to kind of put my own personal vision on a canvas. So that's what kind of led me to be an artist, and also being able to tell my truth as well.
Yeah.
Because when you're working on like, you know, narrative films or animation, you tend to like put your own experiences, but indirectly through a character. But what I love with fine art is that I can kind of directly tell the stories I want to tell but on canvas. So that's kind of what I've incorporated in my practice. And also, for me, art is quite also healing as well. So like, for me, personal experiences I've been through, or just trying to understand life, I've been able to deal with that and cope with that and express that with art.
Yeah.
So if I'm going through any problems or I want to express something, I've just pretty much put the idea or concept on a canvas or clay. And also, I just feel like being an artist, you're kind of free. There's no rules. You can do whatever you want in a sense. It's different to like having like a day job. You're kind of like your own boss in a sense. And I quite like that. Being empowered to kind of do whatever I want. So that's kind of why I'm also an artist as well. And also, I just want to just share my story. Sometimes I'm quite shy and introverted, so like being an artist is kind of a way for me to kind of talk to people, get to know them, and just kind of share, who I am, but just through art. So that's kind of why I'm an artist. So.
Thank you so much for that. And before I move on to the next half of the panel, I just want to say it's so interesting sometimes delving into the journey of an artist and how sometimes there are different mediums that we practice of creativity before we find our purpose sometimes. And also the fact that it's okay to pivot. It's okay to actually realize maybe this isn't the route for me. This is actually where I'm supposed to be. And that alignment comes with, being intentional. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Moving on to you, Saint.
Yeah, I guess like I was always a creative kid. My first memory of making art was drawing on a wall, and then being told off by my parents. And I feel like I've always been artsy and drawing things. I wanted to be a fashion designer when I was a kid, actually. But as I grew up, I wanted, because I wasn't necessarily encouraged to make art. I was kind of discouraged. It was you should study something, business, health and social, something. Legit. And I was just I don't do blood very well, so I would be the worst nurse. But so I found something that was art, but also I can get a job. So I studied graphic design, and then I worked in marketing, and then I was just doing art on the side. I feel like the first opportunity of making art was when I went on a Erasmus exchange in university, and I went to Belgium, and I spent a year just painting and drawing, and I was just I didn't realize you could do this. And then when I came back to uni, I was just I just want to do that. I don't actually want to do graphic design. And so I was always doing that both my job and then 9 to 5, and then just you have a 9 to 5, then you have your 5 to 10, and just painting and doing that. And then last year I did a master's in painting, and that was the first time I was able to just dedicate a year to just paint, and I was oh my god. And yeah, I feel that's kind of who I am now. I am an artist. I've got loads of different mediums, but art is my baby. It's the way I can relate to other people. I feel I've got so many thoughts in my head, but I'm not very good with words or trying to make a clear point. And so just drawing it, visualizing it, that's how I communicate. And I suppose the way I got to Fleet was I think I saw a post on Instagram years ago, and then I DM'd the account, and then I think I missed a deadline, but then only recently I think Isaiah DM'd me, and I was just oh my god, hey, that's so cool, I'd love to be part of this thing. Yeah. And then he came to my studio, and we just had a really nice chat, and I was just this is I think it really, because when you see a faceless account, it's I don't know who this person is, but then you meet the person, you're oh, we vibe, we connect, and it's this is a good place to be.
Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
Moving on to you.
I think so. Whatever people ask, when did you start art or why you're an artist? My mindset is always when we were kids, everyone was doing it, and then I didn't get the memo to stop, so I just kept going. And but I do have one memory, maybe in year 2 or year 3, very young, and I remember kids, or at least boys, used to do. We just get a big piece of paper and draw a battlefield, I don't know why. It's like what we were into. And my teacher like held it up in front of the class. I was like, oh, look how good. And I was like, this is me. This is from there. Also, when I moved here from Nigeria, my dad, he stayed in Nigeria, but he commissioned like baby portraits of me and all my siblings. So they were like hanging in my house like my entire childhood. I just used to like look at them and study, because to me that was like a big deal. Like none of my friends had it, so I was like, so yeah. And that's so it just kind of grew from there, like the obsession, especially with painting people, kind of grew from there. And then how I got to this show, the same. I came to Sani's show here, and I met some people. I'm not sure if that's where Isaiah found out about me from, but yeah, he came to my studio as well. And then as soon as I heard about it, I was 100% in.
Sani is in Insanity.
Yes.
A friend of art and culture as well. Thank you so much.
Hi. The way I came to knowing that I was going to be an artist, I was always a very artsy kid. Like I would, like Saint said, I kind of had this experience of drawing on the walls and getting told off as well. But yeah, basically, what made me really realize I wanted to be an artist was when I was a kid, I was very much bullied, I would say, by other children, because I come from France, and the south of France, not the nice Paris kind of thing, but yeah, the south of France is very racist a bit, and I just felt like from coming from a mixed race couple is like, I mean, a mixed couple, and being mixed race has really shocked them a little bit, and we were kind of ostracized from all the other families. So of course my younger brother and I, we suffered a lot at school, but my brother managed to go through that another way, and my way of going through it was to draw and paint. So I was really much obsessed with manga, and I wanted to be a mangaka for a while. A mangaka is like someone who makes mangas. So I wanted to go to Japan and study manga creating. And then I had this revelation, like, and during COVID, I bought some acrylic and some spray paints online. And it was the first time I was actually doing a painting. And it really made me understand that it was what I wanted to do. And then later I discovered ceramics and performance. But that's later in the journey. I moved to London when I was 16 alone for a sabbatical year, a gap year. And then I started studying fine art at the University of Westminster. So I'm in my third year now. And I met AJ last year, last school year, because I applied for his residency, a contemporary art studios residency, where it was amazing with Faith Anhu and Pablo de la Haye, also called Trafalgar. We had such a good time, and I feel like from that moment on, I really knew that my work was not only two-dimensional, but also three-dimensional, even four-dimensional. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I got here, and I'm just really happy I met people like that.
Thank you so much. Everyone give a round of applause for the first
Thank you. And moving on, we have questions allocated to specific artists on the panel. And the first question that we have is for Tommy and Saint. Your work carries such a unique narrative. How do you approach storytelling through your art, and what key messages do you want viewers to take away? Starting with Tommy.
How do I approach storytelling or narratives in my art? For me, like, the lines between different mediums not mediums, different art forms, whether it's music or film or animation or paint, or that kind of like the process and the tools are different, but they come from the same place. So I take inspiration a lot from music. I take from film. I'm a big like album listener. So if I'm gonna be a fan of you, gotta be able to put together like a cohesive whole album for me to like come into your world with.
Favorite album?
To Be My Butterfly.
Wow, you came out swinging.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. So mentioning that album, Kendrick is a huge the way he puts together his stories, and so my process, or as I'm making the art I'm making now, is kind of to use as many different disciplines that I can. I'll focus on painting. The paintings are the main thing, but to kind of just like invite people into that world as a story unfurls. And I'm also obviously into film and as well. And so the story I'm telling is kind of narrative based, but it's kind of non-linear as well. And it's like every part of it is kind of a beginning, middle, and end. It's like any part in the journey. And yeah, for me, I feel like it just feels more natural telling my story through characters. It's like or more free. I don't know. It just, yeah. And then what was the other part?
Well, I was going to ask you, you focus a lot on portraiture, so what are you trying to tell in terms of the narrative about the people that you choose? Are those people that you know? Or they...
The people in my paintings are all from imagination, they're all made up.
Wow, really?
Yeah, so they're characters, like avatars, to tell the story that I'm telling. Like, it's like I kind of use them, and they don't repeat, so it's like... I haven't like used the same character again, but it's like, as I said, it's like they're all on this journey and they're on their own, but it's kind of together. And
like people I could know,
Yeah, I have, because you can't really make up people. So there's been times I've done it, and then when my boys hit me up, I was like, "Why are you paying me?" I was like, "Bro, it's not you. It's not you. I swear to God, it's not you." But I guess like somehow, something, somewhere, like maybe people I know just naturally filter into them.
Thank you. And Saint.
Yeah, I think I relate to that. Like my characters or people, they have like essences of like, I don't know, friends or like people I've met, or but I suppose how I start my paintings is mainly just like, there's like, I'm walking in the street and someone's standing in a certain way. I'm like, oh, that's a cool pose. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like visually remember that. And then when I'm like, okay, I'm making a new painting, I go back to all the different things I've seen or experienced. I'm like, what would that look like in this way? And then the narrative unfolds of me, like, suppose as I go, like, it could just be like, one day I'm coming in and like, okay, this is what it's about, this is what this is. And then I'm come back to it again. It's like, okay, no, actually, this links to this dream I was having the other day. Yeah. And so everything is not, like linear. It's all a mishmash of things I've experienced or seen. And I suppose the one thing that is consistent is like my characters are kind of based on my face, because I use my body for reference, because I'm just like, it's easier. And also it's just convenient. But and also like I was really obsessed with Frida Kahlo, and like one thing she always said was like, I'm the person I know best. I'm like paraphrasing, but like I relate to that so much, because it's like, yeah, like of all the subjects I've painted, I know myself really well. Yeah. So I feel like that's how my work evolves. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
And this question is now for Ramone. And yes, sir. It's for Ramone and Taya. And the question is, how do you balance that intimate expression with the broader themes you explore?
Starting with Ramone.
Okay, throw me in the deep end. I think I guess you posed that question to both of us because we work that's somewhat abstract.
Yes.
I think abstraction allows a level of ambiguity that people can find their own narratives in the work that you're creating. And I also like that the ambiguity of abstraction allows a lot of questioning in terms of meaning and mining of depth, because I definitely have an intended narrative in the work that I make and things I directly try to communicate. But because it's very much, at least abstraction for me is a new journey, I relate a lot to Louise. I wanted to be a mangaka, a comic artist, and one of my favorite artists, his name is LaShawn Thomas. I'm not sure how many people know about him, but he was the storyboard artist on the show called The Boondocks.
Wow.
And he initially was the first black animator to ever go to Korea and work as a director in an animation house. And if you don't know anything about Japanese animation, majority of the in-between scenes are produced in Korea. So for me, my background is in traditional drawing, so abstraction is a new development for me, but it's been a thing that's come about very intuitively. And so there's definitely a narrative because inherently I'm a storyteller, I rap, I make poetry and all these different things, but I found that there was something that was coming about in terms of thinking about black expression and as an interdisciplinary artist, how exactly can I communicate a form of expression that is somewhat othered by the art world or by white institutions, and thinking about how that expression can find a place in something that has been very much colonial in history and in institution, and somewhat kind of like gatekeeps various forms of expression. And so the work that I've produced downstairs, is like a lot of it is referencing graffiti, which for me, at its root, is a form of art that is not inherently pigeonholed because it just thrives in the wild. It doesn't have a standard that it's trying to meet. It doesn't have a parameter that it tries to conform to in order to be commodified. And I started thinking about my own expression, and especially as a black artist, how much we're encouraged to make art about the trauma in our communities, selling these narratives or these stories that kind of perpetuate this idea of being an oppressed person or victimized person at the hands of, white society, white institutions, colonial history and whatever. And I think it's kind of whack. Me personally, but in October, I hate Black History Month. And the reason as to why I say it's a very outlandish statement, but the reason why I say that is because each month they tell me the same story. Oh yeah, you were slaves. Oh yeah, you were oppressed people. Oh yeah, you were colonized. But as a group of people, we're so much more than that. And I think as an artist, I have a responsibility for whatever platform that I'm on to speak about something that kind of redirects that and broadens the diversity of the experience of what is understood as a black identity or, whatever that is. And so for me, I'm very selective about the mediums and the things I utilize to tell those stories. And I thought the idea of utilizing graffiti and putting it in a space that is very rigid as far as its standards go, and trying to see, well, where does this type of thing fit within that space, would be very interesting as far as utilizing that as maybe an archetype or a representative of what it means to be a black person put within this institution and expected to perform or express themselves in a particular way. So that's my narrative, so to speak, but in my head, I'm just doing loads of different things and it's just very intuitive. And I only really arrive at that point in hindsight, but while I'm making whatever I'm making, I'm not necessarily analytically thinking about that. So I guess that's my answer to your question. You're most welcome.
Thanks. Sorry, I got so captivated by your answer, I've forgotten the question.
Thank you.
The question is, how do you balance that intimate expression with the broader themes that you explore?
I don't even think I answered your question.
You may not have, but you've given us an insight into what it is, and like it kind of relates to what we were saying earlier, that it's okay to pivot, and where your inspiration comes from. That kind of does answer the question, because you are kind of letting us know how you balance your intimate expression, which is coming from within, with the broader themes that you explore, and you're letting us know how you've been able to actually explore those themes, with the animators that you admired and the sorts of practices that you have kind of leaned into now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Taya.
Thank you. God, it's a tough question to answer, and thank you for posing something that's actually quite difficult to articulate in a very good way that you did as well. I think ultimately my themes that I look at are universally human. I'm deeply enthralled by human psychology. I'm deeply enthralled by the very, very, very limited time that we have on this planet, and therefore, time is the biggest factor that goes into my works. While some of them are quite technically difficult because I work with medical grade syringes, but every single one of those pieces is such an investment of who I am in that moment because of the length of time that I have to spend creating it. And the broader themes for me are, I try to make works of art that are inherently encouraging unity and not separateness. I feel like there are just so many things in today's society that, encourage reductionist thinking. And I'm just like, well, again, with the limited time, how can I be closer to, all of my fellow humans and not separated by something that can be seen as trivial sometimes? So that's what I try to do. Again, I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah.
I absolutely did, because I think intimate expression is indicative of what your own expression is, what's intimate to you as a person, what's personal to you. And I think I just want to say thank you for not conforming. Because, if I'm very honest, I think it's important to not conform as an artist, as a creative. Because if we all were expressing the same creative level or creativity, it would be a very boring world. So, thank you.
And thank you for your questions, honestly. Loving them. There you go, my love.
And this question now is for Kwesi and Louise. What challenges have you faced in the art world, particularly as emerging artists, and how have you navigated them? Starting with Louise, if that's okay.
Thank you. I would say the biggest challenge I have faced was my age. So I am 19 years old right now. I was born in December 2004. And
very scary.
It is scary, I know. But yeah, basically, I'm a baby, and most galleries, and every time I was so motivated, I would spend hours and hours creating portfolios when I got home from high school, and I would create portfolios with everything I created. Like, I would watch videos about how to apply to galleries. I would eventually even go to the galleries with some artwork under my arm and just like old style, and well, everybody was telling me don't do that, but I would do it anyway, and every time it was so frustrating because every time the first thing they would ask me is, how old are you? Because obviously I wasn't always dressing up with a teddy thing, but I mean, even wearing normal clothes, you see that I'm quite young, and especially when I was 16. I started being an artist when I was 14. So that's when I published my first novel, and then started going up after that. I had my first exhibition in Chicago at 15, and every time I always felt like I was fighting to exist. Because the biggest struggle of my life, I would say, is being an old lady in a young lady's body. So basically, I don't really get along with my peers, don't really get along with people my age. Most of my friends are over the age of 40. And technically, it's been very difficult for me to kind of accept that I'm young. So I would say that was the biggest struggle, but I've kind of managed to go through that thanks to, I would say, university, because once you enter an art uni, really, which is a bad thing actually. It's not a bad thing to enter an art uni, but it's a bad thing that we have to enter a bad uni, an art uni, to be taken seriously. But since I've started doing my bachelor in fine art, I've seen that the eyes of people who look at me kind of change, and they change every year. Like, what year are you in? First year? Oh. What year are you in? Second year? What year are you in? Third year? Oh, like they get interested. But yeah, that I would say, yeah, my age and obviously my mental illnesses were also very difficult to navigate in. Like, most of the people expect you when you're an artist and you want to start building your networking to go to private views. And obviously when you have social anxiety, also I didn't know anyone when I came here at 16 alone. So it was very difficult on a mental health level. But eventually I'm glad that I've met the right people through lots of different manners, but it was really fun and I'm glad I did it. And now I just can't wait to go further in the ascension.
Thank you so much for that answer.
And before I move on to you, Kwesi, to answer, I just want to say, well done, because outside of being you're a very glamorous moderator today, I'm a teacher and I teach secondary school children, and knowing what some of them do with their spare time and knowing that what you were doing was finding your purpose at such a young age, that is fantastic. And I do hope that you rise further and further in your ascension.